Greetings lads and ladettes, this is Off Apple from DRL here, commentating on race 1 of the Dynamic Racing League's DTM series. We are kicking off the season here at Nürburgring on a relatively sunny day, perhaps a few clouds in the sky, but all in all everything looking a-okay at the moment. No chance of rain according to our weather predictors, of course. But yeah, we're set for some great action. We've got a variety of cars as usual. Couple entries that we haven't quite seen before, but of course returning faces as well. Some recently changed gamer tags, so that's always going to be fun to deal with. And of course we are going to be having some fantastic on-track action as we get ready to do battle here at Nürburgring on the GP circuit. Current fastest time in free practice at the moment is Spinnerkopen. You may remember them from the pre-season race we had about a week ago. Team Spirit, of course, and that bright yellow Adidas sponsored Aston Martin. Fantastic to see them making their return. Car 99, of course, going to be certainly a force to be reckoned with, especially when they're setting lap times like that. Currently ranked second is a substitute for GRM Bandit. It is Jim 38737. They're taking hold of the suicide prevention car 35 for Nookshot Motorsport here today. And from what I personally have seen in a private practice session, looking very good in terms of pace. You can see only around 3/10 slower than Spinner at the moment. Coming across the line now, there's yellow flags out. I believe someone's just exiting the pit lane. Currently ranked third in free practice, we have Weiber driving an Audi R8 LMS. That livery, I don't recognize it from the Blue Moon Bay event, but they're here nonetheless. Fantastic design on that grey and blue R8, very striking. 1.3 seconds off the pace in free practice. Of course, need to remember this isn't qualifying just yet. Gentleman Racing, currently ranked 4th. Car 93, the American, looking relatively strong at this stage. Bright green mirrors on that thing. Auto Art sponsored car. Going to be interesting to see how he does. He got in a bit of a tangle, if I remember, in the last race, so we'll see how he does from there. Dynamic Carbon, formerly known as Waddles the Duck, he has recently had a name change. Going to be fun remembering this, but he is here in his typical BMW M6, sporting the livery very similar to the team of last season. Car 24, hoping for a very solid race indeed. We know that Carbon is quite the pacey driver. He should be towards the sharp end of the field come qualifying and the race. We'll have to see how he does. Houdini Mayers, that was definitely not a cut track. No one saw that. We'll edit that out postscript. Car 23, you may remember them as Gugus 99. Nice slide McGee, by the way. They're currently 6th, about 12 seconds off the pace, so they probably haven't set a representative lap time in free practice as of yet. But yes, the Martini sponsored car, another Nookshot entry. Going to be interesting to see how he does, the Portuguese. Currently on an outlap is I Am Groot, sporting that bright pink Fujitsu R8. Saw them at the Blue Moon Bay race, if I recall correctly. They were making up quite a few positions towards the end of that, so going to be another one to watch. As will be Alpha Nut in the bright orange car of the same team. Texaco sponsored car there, the two Brits looking quite strong in that R8 lineup. They make their way to the pits now, but yeah, Alpha Nut, quite unfortunate when it came to a bit of an incident that happened that really dropped them down the order. So now it's round one, we'll have to see how they do. And the CVS Pharmacy car of John Wandering, another American here today. Going to be interesting to see how he runs as well. That bright white machine with the black bonnet. Going to be a very interesting one indeed. Hello to your boy Klondike. Hello to John Wandering, and hello to It's Driftmeister in the chat. I can assure you there will be many onion barges. It is touring car racing after all, or based on such. Going to be exciting times. We're about 5 minutes away from the start of qualifying, which is a 15-minute session, and that will be followed by a 5-minute break, followed by a 1-hour race. So plenty of action to look forward to here today. Gonna be a good one. Spinner Copen's still with the fastest time of 1:55.436. Let's go and check the live timing while we're here in free practice. So at the moment it is currently just Spinner Copen and Dynamic Carbon that are breaking into the 155s. Jim just sitting outside of that range at the moment, right on the cusp of it. Y-Bear needs to break into the 56s at some point. They're getting very close to doing so. Houdini Mayers rather, going to probably set a faster time than they currently have based on private practice session. We'll see how they do with that. John Wandering's out lap, or the current best lap that they've just set, a 2:01.3, so that definitely is going to be improved on by the American. Y-Bear has just jumped up a place, has he? No, that's someone's just completed a lap. Difficult to keep track of, but at the moment, Spinner Copen still with the fastest time. Dynamic GT, or Dynamic Carbon rather, coming up to the start-finish line. We'll go on board with the Irishman as he takes you through a lap of the Nürburgring GP circuit. As he currently goes top with that time, so 1:55.3 by Dynamic Carbon, as he pulls into the pits, so we're not going to see that, but we're going to go on board with Alpha Nut now, as he brakes for turn 1. Very difficult to get it right. The elevation steeply changes right on the apex. All about smoothness as you make your way through the Mercedes arena, all about that rhythm and just getting it right, not running too wide. Now for this relatively medium speed flowing section, the camber definitely helps the cars to be pitched in, but can also unsettle them a bit on the run down to the hairpin. Very easy to outbrake yourself, but very easy to recover from a slight outbrake. This is a good example of a solid line from Alpha Nut. Exiting now and coming up towards the Schumacher S. Cars will generally, as you saw there, take quite a bit of the curb on the entry to allow them to go flat out through that sector. And then we've got two pretty much right-angled corners. Again, the banking at Nürburgring is what sets it apart as a track where you can carry a fair bit more speed than what you might be able to think. Alpha not running a little bit too wide, perhaps clipping the gravel on the exit of that one. Now we just have the chicane. The only name I recall for it is Vidal. It is probably the other one, but it is also whatever. I should probably have looked that up in my notes, but still. And now making their way through the final corner, solid exit, and coming across the line now. That is a 157. So, according to my clock here, we are about to get qualifying started. It is officially 8 PM BST, so not long to go now, even unless there are some delays, of course, until the start of qualifying. It would appear that Houdini Mayers has got within 3/10 of Spinnerkopen's time, so indeed he has improved on that. Going into practice, here are the times. Indeed, he has broken into the 155s with that 155.7. Spinnerkopen looking strong at this stage, as indeed qualifying is finally getting underway. No delays on this occasion. Green flag given by the officials, and the cars are making their way onto the track. Jim and Houdini Mayers the first to come out of the pit lane. The two Nuke shot cars leading the pack off. Jim running a bit wide, perhaps letting Gugus, or Houdini Mayers rather, through. Again, sorry for the forgetting of the name adjustments. Waiting for a little bit now. Wyber currently second on track. Qualifying is 15 minutes. For IM Group. Not sure if he's tuning in to be able to hear that, but that is how long it is. Carbon has just alerted him to that anyway. So again, beautiful day here at the Nürburgring GP circuit. No chance of rain. Going to be a interesting test of skill with the banked curves and of course the very high curbs as well. So all about getting a suspension set up right. It isn't the most even of surfaces. Gugus, or rather Houdini Mayers, going a little bit wide on exit. They're going to be the first to come up to the line. They're leading the pack away. Going to different camera mode. Going through the last corner now and about to go onto their lap. Going to be interesting to see how this goes. You can see also Wyberg getting a very good exit in the background. Braking nice and solidly for turn one. That is a good exit. Oh, as they hit the cone, sending that to Narnia. Can we have some Fs in chat for the cone? And hear the tyres squealing on that BMW M6. That's not particularly that good of a sign for tyre wear, as he runs a bit wide. Arguably track limits, but we'll have to see what the officials do about that. Getting so close to the gravel, but just about avoiding it. Good work there by Houdini. Coming through the hairpin. Again, good exit, good amount of using the exit curb and then the concrete besides that, oh, catches the gravel on that occasion. You see it spewing across the track. That's not going to give everyone following them that good of a time as he slide McGee's his way through that right angle. Oh, fantastic style points for Houdini Mayers on this occasion. Harry Houdini himself behind the wheel couldn't get skids this cool. Now just braking for the chicane. Good healthy chunk amount of curb taken on that occasion. Jim's getting a bit close to Wyber now. See, coming up to the start finish line, what is going to be the first time set? It's going to be a 1:56. And Jim bests that, does he? That is a 1:55.9, so already Jim on his first lap into the 1:55s. Fantastic stuff by the Brit. Spinnerkoppen comes across the line to go second. And Dynamic Carbon's just taken the fastest lap with a 1:55.4. That rivals what Spinnerkoppen did in qualifying, so that's fantastic stuff by the Irishman. We'll have to see how that pace develops, whether he's got more pace within him. You'd think so, with it being so early on in qualifying. Oh, a bit sketchy on exit, so perhaps this isn't quite his lap. But yes, through all of the first lap attempts, it's Dynamic Carbon that's 5/10 clear of Jim 387.37. Spinnerkoppen a further 3/10 back. Alpha Nut, as I mentioned earlier, does have the pace, just really unfortunate at Blue Moon Bay. He's currently 4th. Houdini Mayers, first to come across the line, has dropped down to 5th, and in fact Wyber's not that far behind them, less than a 10th in 6th. So that Audi R8 looking quite strong. The Audi's definitely looking stronger than they were at Blue Moon Bay. Gentleman Racing in 7th. They're 1.2 seconds behind Wyber, so there's quite a bit of a gap, but it is their first laps, of course. John Wander in 8th, I'm Group 9th, and TRS Stig recently joined mid-qualifying in the Diaqua car. I probably mispronounced that to all different kinds of mispronunciations, but they are here. Car number 00. Yes, that number is indeed allowed. Bright purple machine. Looks like they used a colour shift on that. We've had more times come through, have we? No one's currently gone faster than Dynamic Carbon's time, and indeed Dynamic Carbon coming into the pits for more than likely some fresh rubber. We'll see what this is. They haven't got damage, and that rubber is looking quite fresh, so interesting strategies, because these tyres that will be coming onto now will be colder than what the tyres are with them up to temperature, but to each his own. Of course, Waddles the Duck, as he was previously known, should be okay in terms of strategy and knowing what he's doing. That was a bit of a pause before the mechanics actually selected tyres, so that was odd. Is there like a penalty of some kind? I doubt it. Jim 387.37 making their way through the last sector. Currently sits 3rd, only 4.75 thousandths behind Dynamic Carbon's time at this stage. They're coming through the chicane. Of course, the bright purple and blue suicide prevention livery, and indeed they are coming into the pits. There we go. So with 8 minutes gone in qualifying, we finally have a bit more data on the screen. As I lose that again, there we go. Button controls. So he's coming into the pit. Dynamic Carbon still sits top. Houdini Mayers has gone faster on that last lap. That was a very impressive time. It was a 1:55.6. So that puts them second, ahead of Spinnerkopen. And that also jumps them ahead of their teammate Jim. Alpha not in the pits at this stage. Oh, Houdini Mayer's getting a bit slidey. Alpha not exiting the pit. Dynamic Carbon coming through the last sector now. Looks like they're preparing themselves to go on to a lap. Of course, this would be their out lap. Puts the hammer down and heads off on his way. And just about 10 minutes in qualifying gone at this stage as Carbon gets the exit of turn 1 a little bit shaky, but keeps it together just about. A bit smoother than it was earlier. We've got some more cars coming into the pit starts. Houdini Mayers making their pit stop. Spinnerkopen, are they going to improve on their time? They're coming through the start-finish line as we speak. It's an improvement, but not quite enough to get them past Houdini Mayer's time, but it puts them within a tenth. One thing to note, the top 4 all within 0.5 of a second of each other, so qualifying very competitive indeed. Jim coming across the line. TSR Stig seem to improve on that lap time. They're currently sitting 5th, 1.3 seconds off the pace. Of course, you may know TSR Stig as VRS Stig from the not Dynamic Racing League, of course, from the TSR leagues, which are broadcasted on Half the Race Gone. So, familiar face to watchers of that content. There was yellow flags earlier, it seemed, for an Audi of similar colour. That would probably be I Am Groot. Indeed, it probably was. That was in the Mercedes arena. They've currently exited to the pit lane, so not quite sure what's happening there. Carbon didn't seem to improve on their time last lap. Houdini Mayer's looking alright, and we have another challenger, do we? Yes. It is Sailor 3101 in another BMW M6, a black and white livery. That is quite the striking design. The next gen sponsored car. Not too much known about him from my perspective, so one to watch, the Norwegian car number 11. I think they're on their first flying lap, so we'll see what they can do and where they slot in. Only a few minutes left in qualifying. They go side by side with Houdini Mayers. They currently slot in 5th, so ahead of Stig and behind Jim. Only 7/10 off, so there's one to look out for in the mix. As was that Wybear going slow out of the pit lane, so Spinnerkopen going through Wybear, seeming to get out of the way of the faster cars that might be on their laps. Will anyone be able to surpass the time of Dynamic Carbon in these closing stages of qualifying? Only 2 minutes left to go. That's about 1 lap in terms of time. So most cars that are around this stage of the lap will probably have one, and then one more, but Wybear sliding out just clipped the grass, it seemed. can't get a replay of that because we are in practice mode, of course, but unfortunate for them, we did manage to catch that, so they'll be causing yellow flags, and good for them for staying out of the way, not rejoining unsafely, as Houdini Mayers is spinning out. Not sure what that was. Not sure how they managed to spin out there of all places. They also allowed John Wandering through safely. John Wandering using a decent amount of curb on that exit. Flashing the lights to the camera. Hello. Well, they're currently ranked 10th as Dynamic Carbon has come into the pits. So they're probably about to make the call in 45 seconds time that qualifying will be over and the flag will be out. Some of these cars will definitely be able to get in one more extra, you would think. I think John Wandering is safe, and the car behind him is probably also safe. But anyone behind Wybear will probably not be able to get another lap in. Just 10 seconds to go in the session. It's going to be close. The flag has been called a little bit early, but indeed it doesn't look like they're going to get across the line first looking at the map. Indeed, they do not, whoever that was. So qualifying not quite over just yet. Still, the cars that crossed the line before the flag was out got one extra lap to go. Houdini Mayers currently the closest challenger to Dynamic Carbon. Spinnakopen as well, not far off at all. Yellow flags being shown in Sector 2. As cars are beginning to park up if they've bottled their lap attempts or have just finished with their session. It looked like that was the orange Audi R8 of Alpha Nut and Sailor that was parked up. There you also see TRS Stig parked at the side of the road as well. So Houdini Mayers looking to be one of the last on a competitive lap, it would seem. They're coming through what will be near the last sector. This right angle to go, and then be crossing the sector line. They're 3/10 down. They've got a bit of time to gain through the Vidal chicane. Oh, they healthy chunk of curb, a bit sketchy on throttle, and indeed that's going to ruin all hopes of improving on that. So it is going to be Dynamic Carbon as our pole sitter. Houdini Mayers will be second, Spinnakopen third. That is our top three from qualifying. So fantastic stuff by Dynamic Carbon. As they won 55.220, that clinched this qualifying battle relatively comfortably, few tenths in hand. Check the live timing at the end of all of that. Indeed, Houdini Mayers, the closest challenger, was 4 tenths back in the end. So Carbon been doing their homework around Nürburgring, it would seem. Houdini Mayers will be a bit disappointed that they didn't get the pole, but someone perhaps a little bit more disappointed will be Spinnakopen, who been renowned in the paddock as definitely got the pace over quite a few people and is quite favoured, sort of up there with King of Torque, who is absent today. So he's going to be a bit disappointed, but third in the end, solid result. Interesting wildcard pick, I would say, is Sailor 3101. Going to be very interesting to see how That one does. Although I've just noticed they're using the M-Power version of the car, the BMW M6, so it's slightly different aero design on that, so might have to get that checked out post-race. Just 2 minutes to go until the start of the race. Things are really starting to heat up here at Nürburgring, including the rear tyres of quite a lot of competitors as they're spinning out, doing their Slide McGee moments. Indeed, Sailor doing donuts now. John wondering in chat, noting he had a 158 within him. We'll have to see, was that on your optimal? Was it a 158 optimal? Brandon Dorr, good to see you in chat. I'm gonna take a guess that you would be a pole sitter, dynamic carbon. It's the only Brandon I know. Yes, big up Jack Wilkinson on the cam, of course. How could we not, Houdini Mayers? Going to be... oh, this is going to be such a good race. So juicy. So juicy. And it's not even started yet. Okay, questions being asked about the traction control. If I recall correctly, this was discussed between me and the series organizer, as I'm the series advisor, of course, and I believe he mentioned something along the lines of it being allowed again. Indeed, he has said it there. You heard it here first, folks. And yes, I will happily pronounce everyone's name wrong here today. Spinnercope is probably pronounced Spinnerkoppen or something like that, for all I care. I'm British, I pronounce things my own weird British way. Of course, if that offends you, then too bad. I can't do anything about it. Dear. We'll have to see. We shall have to see it, my friends. It's an I instead of an E. Houdini Myers? Oh, like Michael Myers, in a way. Sort of. Is it? Is that it? Yeah, John wondering. That's quite straightforward. Good to see a decent turnout here on the stream. 5 viewers currently. I imagine that most of you are the drivers as well, so thanks for tuning in to Radio DRL, the not radio show limited network that we are. Cars being asked if they are ready, so things are about to get started. Many entries typing R in the chat. That's going to become the meme of this channel, R in the chat. Forget your F's. Go to dynamic carbon here, pulsator. Nice looking helmet, have to say that. Some great creativity within the dynamic racing leagues community, I have to say. Definitely up there with many other racing leagues. Such creativity within these guys. Might not be the fastest drivers in the world, of course. This series aimed roughly at sport mode B rank, but they certainly know how to design liveries, I'll say that much. Final good luck, and let's have a clean race from the race organizers, and we are about to get things underway at last here at Nürburgring. Sky looking absolutely beautiful today, not a cloud in sight. I say as I see clouds in the background, never mind. From that camera angle there weren't any. Of course I can't see any from my studio booth either, considering I have the blind down. and it's pitch black at night. So Alpha not currently in the pits. They're probably going to be asked to drive around to Sector 2, just to be on the safe side. Everyone should be using the Racing Soft compound here today. Indeed, that seems to be the case. Dynamic carbon in Sector 2 as we speak. Oh, there we go. Yes, light clouds, that would be a accurate description of such. How many grey shirts do you see in that grandstand back there? Quite a few. Quite popular here at the Nürburgring, it would seem. Perhaps they're selling them at a nearby vendor. Well, Alphanut's made his way into Sector 2. Yellow flags out as everyone is stopped on track. Not quite sure what this slight delay is. At the moment, not heard anything from the officials. Perhaps someone's running a little bit late. I can't confirm anything at this stage. It's looking like it's going to be an 11-car grid. John Wondering messing about at the side of the track, as he normally does. Car 88. We would expect nothing less from our good friend. Oh, Jim makes a cameo appearance on camera. As does... was that Sailor? That's probably Sailor. Yes, indeed. They're around the same area on track. The final has been started. Oh, okay, the John Wondering shirts, it would seem that they've been giving out at the team booth. Must be some kind of fan meet and greet. But we are here, finally getting things underway at Nürburgring. We have BMWs 1, 2, and 4. Dynamic Carbon currently on pole position. We'll have to see how he gets away at the start. Houdini Myers in second. Oh, Myers, rather. That's going to be a pain in the neck to remember the rest of the race. Get the extra bit of info up. Things are about to get underway here at Nürburgring. Green, 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 and the cars are off. There's a slidey start from Houdini Myers. TSR Stick has a fantastic start. Oh, it looks like 3 wide into turn 1 already. Houdini Myers is going to get it on the inside. And indeed, he holds on to it. Fantastic stuff. My voice is cracking more than an earthquake. Carbon is pressurizing him as they make their way through the Mercedes arena. The train is beginning to form, so Houdini Myers, despite the wheel spin on the start, had a fantastic launch. And the cars are making their way through Sector 2 as we speak now. Oh, look at the fighting. TSR Sticks going down the inside. There's contact. And somehow Carbon's really falling down the order from all that. They lost so much momentum. Groot going around the outside on the run down to the hairpin. So Groot moves up to third. TSR Sticks actually moved down to fifth. All of this battling's allowing Houdini Myers to get away in first. Spinner Carbon has somehow snuck their way into second through all of that. Carbon pressurizing I Am Groot, not happy that they lost out that position. Oh, some stuff happening in the background. I Am Groot falling down the order a little bit. Can we get a little replay of that? Oh, so there was contact and they just... on the inside curb. That is quite unfortunate. We'll go back to the live. Oh, there's a massive kerfuffle. Can we see if we can get a replay of this? What's happened here then? Oh, it was just far too many cars trying to squeeze into the chicane, and it all sort of piled in. I Am Groot coming into the pits. They have damage front aero and front left suspension, so that's already costing their race at this stage. As there's contact for the lead. So Houdini being caught up now by Dynamic Carbon and Spinner Copen as well. So Carbon's really made his way back up the order. Through all of that chaos, it's Houdini Myers that leads. Under so much pressure though from the car behind. Oh, looks like they have a little bit of a better exit. Not going to be close enough on this occasion, surely. Indeed, they back out of it into the braking zone. Carbon taking a wider line through there. Seems to be a bit of action towards the back though. Jim leading this 5-car train, and in fact Sailor now leading it as they go side by side up towards Schumacher S. This is not a good idea, lads. Indeed, Jim has to back out of it. Sailor just clips the gravel a little bit. Alpha Nut coming into this as well. Oh, slight tap, and that sent him onto the grass, and someone went flying. That was Weiber. What happened to the lad here? So there's practically 4 wide at times, and indeed they just seem to get their braking wrong. Just run a little bit wide. So they've really fell down the order. They're all the way down in 10th at this stage. Jim and Alpha Nut scrapping it out. Alpha Nut now ahead. Oh, Jim looking like they might want to come back on the inside. They're late on the brakes. Alpha Nut has to leave the space. They're still side by side. Oh, well, Jim slots in now, but oh, Alpha Nut going very defensive. Fantastic racecraft. Jim goes down the inside, defends that well, and indeed does take 6th. Houdini Myers leads. A bit of a gap developing at this stage, about 1 second or so. Spinner Copen 3rd, TSR Stig 4th. So this top 4, consisting of all 3 different manufacturers, by the way, seems to have broken away from 5th and below. Sailor on a little bit of an island, ironically. Houdini currently on a personal best lap. Stig currently holds the fastest lap of the race at this stage. Oh, getting a bit close to the gravel is the TSR lad. All over the back of Spinner Copen. Going on board with the Brit. He's run down to Vidal. Ooh, looked a bit too late on the brakes, but he gets it stopped. And indeed it looks like it will be within slipstream range of Spinner Copen on the straight. Stig, a very experienced driver, and Spinner Copen sliding out. So Stig is choosing not to slot into the slipstream. That's an interesting move. Maybe just trying to outbrake him around the outside. Surely not. Oh, he is doing. Is this gonna work? Oh, they're still side by side. Are they indeed? Stig pressurizing. He's got the inside from the Mercedes arena, so it's going to be almost impossible to defend from Spinner Copen. Stig moves up into 3rd from that brilliant display of racecraft. So Jim's starting to break away a little bit from Alpha Nut in 7th. The fight's still on a bit further back down the order where some of the Aston Martins are. Interesting stuff. Oh! Weiber going down the inside and those major contact. Gonna have to see if we can get that one on a replay. Yep, it just outbroke himself, and that sent Gentleman Racing into the gravel. Unfortunate mistake. That's probably going to get looked at by the stewards. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Houdini Myers with a decent lead at this stage. Spinnerkoppen managing to stay with Stig. Perhaps a bit of role reversal now as they're coming up to the straight. Meanwhile, Houdini Myers has just had the new fastest lap of 155.2, which if you take into account the qualifying pace, that is not quite enough for pole, but it's a matter of thousandths. Spinnerkoppen thinks a bit better of challenging down the inside on that occasion. Stig broke very late and very defensively. Good driving. The AstroTurf can be quite slippy as well at times, going to affect the braking a little bit on that Aston Martin. These two very, very close. That 7/10 slipstream range starting to get a bit wider. Bit dust kicked up on exit. Weiber currently 8th. Checking through the order. Interestingly, I am Groot not that far off of the pack despite that pit stop, so they're going to be one to watch. They'll probably be on a 2-stop. We'll see how that develops. I think it's fair to say that this is probably the closest on track at the moment is Stig and Spinnerkoppen. About 3 seconds off the leaders, getting close to 4 seconds in fact, so they are losing a bit of time. Indeed, Stig does seem to have broken that slipstream gap as they make their way through the hairpin. That Audi is very agile through the corners. Quite slippery in the straights as well, not to be underestimated there. Indeed, the gap does seem to be extending between those two. We've had about 10 minutes of racing here at the Nürburgring, and what a 10 minutes that has been. Action-packed throughout. Field's starting to spread out a little bit at this stage. Sailor doing quite well, this sort of dark horse you could say. Only 9 seconds back, solidly within the points. The next gen sponsored car running very well indeed. Gonna quickly check in John Wandering and Gentleman Racing, these two Aston Martin cars. Looking like they're getting a bit close for comfort. Perhaps. We shall see. The closest on track at this stage, making their way through the hairpin at the bottom of the circuit. Good stuff through the Schumi S. Ooh, nearly runs into the back of John Wandering on that occasion. John Wandering flashing his lights. I don't think Gentleman Racing will be able to see them from behind him. But nevertheless, setting himself up nicely for the chicane. John Wandering not defending at all. Gentleman Racing backs out of that. I would have personally sent it if I was him. Jim coming into the pits. What's happened here? He's got rear aero damage. So that would explain the early pit stop. He might not change tyres. We'll have to see. That would certainly save time. unless he plans on going long on that set of softs. Indeed, they do not change tyres. It is a simple repair and out job. They rejoin in last, so interestingly enough, behind I Am Groot. So really going to be interesting to see once the pit stop cycles completely through, where I Am Groot in the bright pink Fujitsu car will slot in. They're currently on a personal best lap as they made their way through the Sector 2 marker. Or the Sector 1 marker, rather. Houdini Myers still leads. The gap is 2.2 seconds, so that's extended a little bit from Dynamic Carbon. Then TRS Stig. Oh, just getting gravel on exit. Bringing a little bit of that onto the track. That's not going to be doing Spinner Cup or Sailor any favours. Someone's gone off. That's Alpha Nuts, so what happened here? We're going to get a replay of this. So just out-braking himself, and the tyres just covered in dirt. Couldn't really rejoin the track after that properly, and then just span out trying to. So that's dropped them down to 7th. Okay then. I Am Groot really made progress as they've caught up to the back of John Wandering, so there was a pass in fact between Gentleman Racing and John Wandering. We're probably not going to be able to catch that unfortunately on the replay. Jim also very close between all of that. Oh, John Wandering perhaps looking to get a bit of an undercut on the fellow Aston Martin up ahead, flashing his lights again, trying to put on the pressure. The two Americans, of course, in two identical machinery. Only thing different in this case are the liveries, and it looks like I Am Groot is gonna try down the inside. Oh, there's a smidge of contact, but they keep it on the track just about. So I Am Groot looking to challenge down the inside of the hairpin. They heavily outbrake themselves, but they know they get it stopped. It was just John Wandering backing out a little bit too early. Things are going a bit south for John. They now have Jim behind them. Still flashing his lights away. Very dedicated towards that. Jim doing the wise thing and sticking behind for the moment. You sense it is just a matter of time though. Looking at the tyres on the cars, you would think that Jim's are a little bit fresher, and indeed it looks like John Wandering just let him go on that occasion. A little bit up the road. I Am Groot and Gentleman Racing. In fact, I Am Groot has got ahead of Gentleman Racing. So the pink car's really coming back into this. They made their stop relatively early. I don't think Gentleman Racing has made a stop yet, so I Am Groot really showing their pace, just not a lot of luck when it comes to collisions or picking up damage and such. TSR Stig currently 3rd, chasing down Dynamic Carbon. They're the current highest ranked Audi, in fact. And it looks like the gap to the leaders come down a fair bit as well. Indeed, only a 1.3 second gap for Houdini Myers at this particular point in the race. TSR Stig, very solid exit. Fantastic livery on that thing with the the bubbles on the side, and of course the sort of colour shifting way that they've applied the gradient. Fantastic creativity. Good stuff making it over the chicane. The Audi we've known in the past to be the most twitchy of the three cars, so Stig, obviously with the experience he has experience with setups, so gonna be an interesting one to see how he manages to get that Audi up the order. Gonna drop back a little bit. Alpha Nut currently 7th. A bit further back than that we have Jim challenging I Am Groot. Gonna go on board. It looks like I Am Groot had a bit of a better exit. Although Jim is in slipstream, it's not going to be close enough on that occasion. Last lap was a 1:56.2, so only a second off the pace of the fastest lap overall. Oh, looking to the inside as the door was left open by the bright pink car of I Am Groot. They're side by side making their way towards this second sector, just about. Well defended from I Am Groot. Oh, he's under all sorts of pressure, and indeed, as he gets on the throttle a little bit too early, or perhaps it was the curb that unsettled him, goes to the other side of the track, and that's allowing Jim to have a run on the outside. Line.com for everything, DTM. Oh, the cutback, it's so juicy. Now making their way up towards the Schumacher S, who's going to back out. Oh, no one backs out, but Jim slots in the end. And now he's trying again down the inside. And that is a fantastic move by the Brit. I Am Groot will be definitely looking to challenge on the return of that, though. Definitely going to try his best to stick with him. Now going to an onboard, you see the Audi closing and looking to the inside, he outbrakes. And indeed, they're through. What's happened to Jim? He just seemed to fall back a little bit, perhaps backing out. Spin a cup and into the pits. Where are they going to rejoin? They exit the pits now. They are going to rejoin ahead of I Am Groot and Jim, 38737. You see them battling in the back. Ooh, Jim going for the very outside. That was quite ambitious. He didn't pick up damage from that, did he? Oh, he did. Let's see if we can get a replay of this. So yet, made contact with the back of I Am Groot's car. I Am Groot doesn't have damage. So just playing it a little bit too risky and suffered the consequences because of that. It's going to probably drop him back into Gentleman Racing's range. Although we are coming up towards the pit window. I think Jim's already made an early pit stop. I could be wrong. Going back to the battle for the lead, only 3 or 4 tenths between the leaders. Very intense stuff. I can't even speak, it's that intense. We're going to a rear wing cam of Houdini Meyer's car. In fact, it looks like Carbon will be under a bit of pressure from TSR Stig. We're going to have a decent view of it. Carbon goes defensive. Perhaps a little bit too defensive, giving away a bit too much road. Oh, the closing speed. Fantastic to see Carbon looking like they might just about defend it off. No, Stig's still there. Stig's still hanging on the inside. Carbon's going to try and hold it around the outside through Mercedes Arena. Going to be a massive task for him. Stig coming up now about level as they exit it. Stig runs far too wide and surely will have to give back the position or something for that because they went off the track in order to keep it. Not quite sure what will happen, as Carbon actually just ends up sliding out a bit. All of that's allowed Houdini Myers to gap them to by 1.2 seconds. Sailor, meanwhile, minding his business still on that island, as you would expect. The Norwegian currently 6.6 seconds behind the leaders, about 13 seconds behind, or ahead of Wybear in 5th. So Wybear's gone through this relatively unnoticed at this point. As soon as I say that, he's probably going to explode or have an engine failure or something. That's normally how commentary works these days. But at the moment he's running a solid 5th place, is the Indonesian. About 6 seconds ahead of Alpha Nut. Again, it's looking quite close near the top, is it? No, not quite. Not as close as it perhaps was, but the top 3 is Houdini Myers, TRS Stig, and Dynamic Carbon. Still there you see Sailor in the back. Alpha Nut and the Texaco car, they are currently running 6th. In fact, Brenner Copen, who has made a pit stop, they're running 7th, and they won't have overly much traffic if they are quite pacey at this stage. You can see how fresh the rubber is on that graphic. So again, one to watch. I'm Groot as well. They made a very early stop. Gentleman Racing 9th. John Wander in 10th, and Jim down in 11th after they did indeed make another pit stop for that. Things are getting a bit closer up front. It's Houdini Myers and TRS Stig getting a bit closer than they were earlier. Stig now ahead of Carbon, now moving on to his next target. Coming through the one of the right angles and now coming up towards the kink leading up to the chicane. Surely he's going to have to go defensive at some point. Indeed, he holds the InsideLine.com. Not sponsored. Stig using a bit more curb on the entry, which is what we've been seeing quite a lot of drivers on the Schumacher S do, as Houdini Myers goes a little bit too wide for my liking through exit, and indeed Stig's going to be alongside. Is he going to be able to hold it on the brakes? Oh, he can't quite get the cutback because of the way the car was positioned, but he's certainly challenging, perhaps looking for a little bit of a cutback through the Mercedes arena. Myers slides, holds on to it for now. This is bringing Carbon back into the picture. Carbon is only 1.2 seconds behind these two. Great defensive work by the Portuguese so far. Gonna go onto an onboard of TRS Stig's car. Normally when we do that, it means that there's gonna be an overtake. Last lap was a 1:56.0. Oh, Houdini Myers slides out. And indeed, it looks like Stig's gonna get a little bit of a run. No, the BMW muscles its way past with that V8 engine. On the run up through Schumacher is now leading up to this. Houdini going defensive again. Oh, Stig's going to try the InsideLine.com. Doesn't work out for him here. Houdini doing a very solid job of defending both of them, clipping the gravel. Not doing Carbon any favours in the back. Coming up to the chicane. Houdini again, very defensive. Very calm, very measured. As Dynamic is pitting and trying to get an undercut, it would seem, on these guys. So it is coming up to the regular pit window, approaching the 30-minute mark or so, half the race through. I'm probably not contractually obligated to say the actual term, but Stig going around the outside, it switches to the inside, and indeed they do get the pass done. Oh, Houdini looking to perhaps challenge back through Mercedes Arena. Doesn't quite work out. They're a bit slidey. Slide McGee's as Stig goes very wide, almost to Narnia in fact, on the exit. We're seeing him doing that on a couple of occasions now at this stage, so interesting. Again, using quite a bit of that concrete as well, but of course that's perfectly allowed. The BMW M6 seeming to get a bit of a better exit, also a bit braver on the brakes perhaps. All a bit shaky. Exits are about even. It would appear that the M6 has the straight line speed over the R8, but through the twisty stuff. There you can see on the delta times the R8 really shining. He's just got to stay within slipstream range and is slipping out of that. Nearly a second already. He's in the gravel with half of the wheels. So he's dropped back for now, going to be braking into the chicane. All going to be a case of if he can make up the time in order to get back in slipstream range. He's close, and in fact he bails for the pits, so Houdini Myers comes into the pits, leaving Stig to be the last of the top three to pit. Carbon going to make his way through the chicane as we speak again. Wyben not that far behind him after that. Carbon came out of the pits on that last lap in 4th, so going to be very close between him and Houdini Myers. Will the undercut work? Where is Houdini Myers? He's coming out of the pits now. It's going to be insanely close between these. Where is he? Where is he? Oh, and there he is. Houdini Myers just about managing to hold on from that undercut attempt. But of course his tyres will be relatively cold and won't be used to them at the stage, unlike Dynamic Carbon, who has had one lap in order to get them up to temperature. And to get the feel, of course, as well, so it's going to be under a fair bit of pressure. Meanwhile, Spinnerkopen seem to have got past Sailor. We'll see if we can get a replay of that. No, we can't. That pass was made a little bit earlier. Houdini, oh, warming the tyres up by performing a Slide McGee. Who would have thought? Gaining a fair bit of time on the Delta to TRS Stig, so both of these guys will be getting a bit of an undercut. It might be hampered a bit by the battling, although they don't seem to be battling too much, so helping each other in that sense. Stig going into the pits. No, he's staying out. What's his tyre wear like? Moderate, but passable. So Sailor looking to perhaps come up on Spinnerkopen as well. About 5/10 between those two. Coming up towards the final turn, leading up to the straight. Oh, another slide. Blue flags being waved, so there's a car somewhere. Sailor not close enough on this occasion. Oh, another slide. So Houdini Myers definitely getting their tyres up to temperature. It's allowing Carbon to stick with them. Oh, and now the delta is really increasing because of the battling. Carbon all over the back of his fellow BMW compatriot. Two different teams running the cars as well. Of course, don't forget Dynamic Racing Team for Carbon, Nookshot Motorsport for Houdini. There's about 20 seconds between those two as we just catch that. That was Dynamic Carbon getting it wrong out the exit of the hairpin. What happened exactly? He just oversteered on the throttle and completely messed it up. That's dropped him all the way down to 5th, so even behind Spinnakopen and Sailor. That's a massive mistake from the Irishman. Really unfortunate for them. That's going to really hamper their chances of winning the race, where they were 20 seconds behind before. They are 30 seconds behind now. Well, TSR Stig stay out. They are staying out. Hope they do realise that there is a mandatory pit stop rule. Perhaps they were aiming to do the Bo Fushidara tactic. Sailor now promoted up to 4th at this stage. They seem to be sticking with Spinnakopen. Right, just outside of that slipstream range, that juicy slipstream, but there or thereabouts. Pretty much got them tied on the end of a string. Weiber running a bit wide in that Audi R8 on the exit of the last turn. Gonna pick up a little bit of dirt on the tyres. It's gonna allow Alphanot in the Texaco sponsored R8 to get on up. Feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme, get on up. It's DTM time. As there's another overtake in the back, that's Jim going down the inside of Gentleman Racing. Good thing we just about caught that. I'll see if we can catch it again. Indeed, it does seem to be a relatively simple getting in the slipstream and licking the stamp. Indeed, solid work by Jim. Back to the live footage. We have about 25 minutes of the race left to go. TSR Stig currently leads, but they have yet to make a pit stop. Look a bit further down the order, so we've got Gentleman Racing there. John Wadron about 30 seconds back. They're just exiting Mercedes Arena, but they're still going, still chugging along. Good to see. So Stig with a 19-second gap. That's coming down due to Houdini Myers not battling anyone at this stage since that mistake from Carbon. Still, we'll have to see how it develops. Let's quickly check in on the tyre wear. Again, moderate but not too severe. Spinnakopen has found themselves up into 3rd from all of that madness. And indeed, it looks like they're having a little bit of trouble now. Sailor's getting up to the back of them. The Team Spirit Aston Martin, the Adidas sponsored car. Solid exit from them. Sailor as well, and there you see Carbon in the back of that. He'll be absolutely kicking himself. As will all of his race engineers and stuff. They will all just be kicking him to death. They won't be kicking themselves, they'll just be kicking him. Just saying. Anyway, the gap between Spinnakopen and Sailor has increased into 8 tenths, nearing 9 tenths through here. It's constantly varying between being in and out of slipstream range. Oh! Just clip the gravel. Just outside of that slipstream range, it would seem, is Sailor. That's going to really disappoint him. still doing a fantastic job for being a pretty much unknown to the series' sailor, to be able to keep up with Spinnercopen at this particular point. Car number 11 doing a very good job. Weiber currently finds himself taking what would be the last point. Although Alphanaut, who we've seen has quite a bit of pace, is definitely coming up to them. And I Am Groot perhaps suffering from pressure from Jim. Gentleman Racing pits, meanwhile, we won't pan to them because there's something going on here. Jim diving down the inside, and Groot just about getting a cutback. Jim's still there on the inside, pretty much parallel as they make their way through the Mercedes arena. It looks like Jim's gonna hold on to that. Groot seems to have a better exit, and they've got the inside as Jim didn't defend. He's gonna hold on around the outside. That's really brave stuff from both of these to keep the battling going through this very tight and twisty section. Indeed, it would appear that Jim holds on to it for now. It's surely not over. Surely it's not over. Indeed. Oh, so close to contact again. Everything seems to be okay at this stage. Again, just keeping within that slipstream range. These guys are a minute back by from the leader for context, but still the battling continues on and on and on throughout this one. We've had about 40 minutes of the race gone, and about 20 minutes of the race to go. It's going to be an epic conclusion to things. TSR Stig's still yet to pit, of course. Would appear Jim's breaking away from Groot a little bit. How are Groot's tyres? Groot's tyres are A-OK. We go to Gentleman Racing. What's happening in his world? Not a lot at the moment on an island, much like Sailor was earlier. Interesting choice of having the I Heart Deutsche Post rear number plate and that sort of weird angle at the back. That's an interesting little touch from the American in the Auto Art car. Bright red, almost Joe with the Fire red, in fact. It's that bright. Stig making his way up towards the last sector. He is our race leader, of course, yet to make that crucial pit stop. His last lap was a 1:55.5, so only 5/10 off the current fastest, which was set by second placeman Houdini Myers in the Bacardi Minardi car, the Bacardi Martini car, rather, who's currently 3/10 up on his fastest lap. So he's really charging at this stage. In fact, the gap's come down to 18 seconds. Stig does indeed pit. So Stig's going to have lost out a fair bit of time from all of that. He should be okay on fuel. All of these guys should be okay to just do tyres and then leave. He hasn't got any damage to repair, and the bright purple car makes its way to the pit stall. My guess is that Houdini Myers will come out ahead. The yellow flags are out. It's going to be very close on the rejoin. There you see them both. Oh, Houdini Myers going around the outside. There's still side by side. There's contact. They nearly run each other off the road. Houdini Myers still down the inside. Stig running wide. And Houdini Myers just about manages to get it done. Stig still having to try and adjust to his tyres. So the undercut has indeed worked despite the squabbling with Carbon earlier. And that promotes Houdini Myers into the lead of this race, but this is far from over. Stig's tyres, although relatively cold compared to Houdini's at this stage, are much fresher. And this is far from over. Stig still within that juicy slipstream range. just literally 3/10 separating them. Stig looked a bit more confident on the brakes. Houdini having to defend as a contact. The onion barges are out yet again. We're having a banquet of the things tonight. It looks like he's dropped back a little bit. And indeed, crucially, he's broken out of that 7/10 slipstream gap. So he should be okay on this occasion. Indeed, the gap is 1 second between first and second place. A bit further back, that is Spinnaker, and coming from major pressure from Sailor. Sailor's definitely going to have a run here, surely. Surely. He's going to try something around the outside. Oh, he's going to try cutback, is he? Doesn't quite get the traction needed to pull that one off. But these two also extremely close on track, battling for that final spot on the podium. Getting a little bit squirrely on the exit of the Mercedes arena, and there you see Carbon as well. He's going to be licking his lips, just looking at the word of the race. Juicy battle up ahead. Definitely going to be slowing each other down at this point. Oh, again, just so close to that contact. Going on board with Sailor's car number 11. Not taking the entry curb through the Schumacher S, unlike Spinnaker, as you saw up ahead, so he had to lift out of that. Oh, Spinner runs a little bit wide, just misses the apex. Oh, slight snap from the N6 of Sailor. Oh, he's trying, he's somehow managed to send it. They're side by side through the chicane. That was very sportsmanlike and very respectful between both of them to keep that clean as they could. And yet interesting and spicy. With 15 minutes of the race to go here at Nürburgring, things are certainly heating up as we are building towards the climax. It looks like a bit further back there was also a scrap. Yes, Wybear and Jim in fact into the chicane. Just about caught the end of that. Wybear moves up into 7th. Jim in 8th. And Iron Grew a bit shaky on exit. They're currently 9th, but they're certainly within the hunt here. Interesting stuff. Gentleman Racing currently sits in 10th by that island by themselves. I just put the chicane, they must have outbroke themselves. Didn't look like they gained much time, they seemed to just coast through it. And of course our boy John Wandering, who is currently in 11th. 1 minute 41 behind the leaders, but still doing a good job holding up that CVS Pharmacy car. Always good to see John Wandering. As there was a bit of an overtake. Yes indeed, Sailor's going and made a move on Spinnaker, and I'll set a marker there, see if we can quite catch that. Perhaps. We'll see if we can catch that. Oh, so it was gravel kicked up by the Aston Martin, and that just allowed Sailor to cruise on past through the inside. So that's promoted Sailor up into 3rd place and is going defensive on the main straight. Oh, really has to close off the line. That was as
as close but as fair as you could probably get. It was very borderline. But the position is indeed defended, so Sailor currently third, Spinner Copeland fourth, and now we see our boy Waddles the Duck, Dynamic Carbon, Dynamic GT, whatever you want to call him these days, about a second behind Spinner Copeland, so just a little bit more battling and he will be within that slipstream range. Not long to go now. 12 minutes left here at Nürburgring. Gap seems to have stabilized between Stig and Houdini. That Bacardi Martini car has looked very solid all throughout this race. Currently 2/10 purple on their current fastest lap, which would set them up for a 154, the first that we would have seen this race. They currently hold the fastest overall course of 155.019, as you can see on your middle left of the screen. They're making their way through the last corner. Stig seem to gain a little bit of time. They're still just outside of that slipstream range. It is a 155.199. What was it for Stig? It was a 155.019, so exactly 1/10 gained on that lap by Stig. Just closing him in slowly, 10th by 10th. Got approximately 6 laps left in this one. Currently on lap 26. Oh, Houdini didn't get the greatest of run out of the Mercedes arena. Let's put Stig within that slipstream range. Oh, Stig goes very deep. Nearly runs off into the grass. That would have been unfortunate. Oh, so close to the gravel again. These drivers are right on their limits. On board with the car of TRS Stig. Gonna have the slipstream, but also the dirty air as he makes his way up through the Schumacher S. Interesting, you can see the two different lines that people have been taking. Stig taking the entry curb and Houdini Myers opting to not. So close, and surely there's 3/10 up on the current best lap time, so Houdini goes defensive. That's a bit too early. Where they come across, there's a bit of traffic up the road as well. He's outbroke himself, and indeed he has to slow down a little bit, lose that time. He seems to have done, and that's going to allow Stig to try and set himself up for a cutback. He's defended. Now it's going to be a question of how strong the slipstream is. Will he be able to do anything? He's going to try around the outside. Oh, there's a little bit of a backfire from the exhaust of the M6, and has somehow managed to keep Stig behind for now. Massive slide from the Portuguese driver of Houdini. Oh, Stig somehow managed to tap his way and force his way up into the inside. That also seemed to have sent Houdini a bit off. Forced to ride, there's more contact, and Houdini has somehow managed to hold on to that. Again, a cutback from Stig. Oh, this is gonna be so close. Only 8 minutes left. Don't bin it now, lads. Houdini runs wide. Stig gets a superior exit as they run up towards the Schumacher S. Again, contrasting lines as Houdini has to go a bit defensive. Perhaps that traffic, I believe that's John Wandering, might be the key in order to settle this one. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. Blue flags are on, of course. TRS Stig trying to go around the outside of the chicane. That would have been unbelievable if he managed to pull that off. Doesn't quite on this occasion. Gonna try and set himself up for an exit. Get the most amount of speed that he can on this straight. We're going to the rear wing, Kang on Houdini's car. Last lap was a 1:58. That is some seconds away from his personal best. Stig all over the back of the BMW. Oh, looking towards the outside, and indeed John Wandering does get out of the way because of the blue flags. Fair play to him, you can see them being waved at the side of the track. Oh! And through all that slide from Houdini, and what seemed to be a bit of a better exit from Stig. That's allowed Stig to get through. Things really heating up now. Stig's got into the lead of this race. So managing to recover the position after the undercut that Houdini played on them earlier. Now it'll be interesting to see how well the M6 does at following another car. See how well it does with the dirty air. Of course, the way the Audi's built, a bit more streamlined, it shouldn't be as bad as the BMW to follow in theory. So close. Only 6 minutes left in this one. Only at the end of this lap, it will be just 3 more, I'd imagine. The Martini car still within the slipstream of the Dakwa car. Again, probably mispronouncing sponsors as I usually do. Oh, Houdini gets a bit slidey. Oh, and that's just gonna just about drop them out of slipstream range. And that was a massive tank slapper from Sailor. Just about manages to save it. So with 5 minutes left in this one, TRS Stig leads, but only just from the BMW M6 of Houdini Myers. Sailor currently third. Fantastic debut race for them. Spinner Cup and fourth. Dynamic Carbon was looking so good near the start of this one. They're currently fifth. Alpha Nut 6th, Jim 7th, and I Am Group 8th. Then it would be YBER 9th, Gentleman Racing 10th, and John Wandering in 11th. YBER looking a bit close to group. 2 Audi R8 drivers, of course. Hoping that something's gonna go wrong for the opponent up ahead as YBER nearly goes off to Narnia. So many cars seem to run wide and the exit of the Mercedes arena today. Track limits are relatively relaxed, I assume, in that particular section. Now looking at Dynamic Carbon for the Dynamic Racing team. Teammate not present here today, King of Torque. Just the one car for the Dynamic Racing team here today. Car 24. So they're currently in 5th. They're chasing down Spinner Cup, and who's only 1.3 seconds up the road. You can see them in the foreground. There they are. Car 99 of Team Spirit. Two to go here at Nürburgring. The gap is 1.2 seconds. All it will take is just one little slip up to decide this one. Stig doing a very solid job in that Audi R8. Difficult car to master, but certainly reaping the fruits of the practicing with it. From what I've been hearing, he's been running a stock setup for this one. That has been the rumour going around the paddock at least. Alpha Nut currently running 6th. There they are, making their way through the Mercedes arena. So Spinner Copen and Dynamic GT, or Dynamic Carbon rather, getting confused between GT Planet names and Gran Turismo Sport names. That gap certainly coming down. In fact, Carbon's looking within slipstream range, it would seem. So that's going to be one to monitor. The question still remains though, can this guy get ahead of this guy? Find out after this commercial break. Just kidding, we are coming on to the last lap of the race. TRS Stig leads only 1 second in hand from Houdini Myers and indeed Sailor in that black and white BMW, not far behind at all in case both of them make a mistake. Coming through the Mercedes arena for the last time. Ironically, there are no Mercedes competing this season since the Aston Martins have replaced them, much like in real DTM. Perhaps they shall rename it the Aston Martin Arena. Or perhaps not, because that is a bad idea. TRS Stig making their way through Sector 2. All seems to be going well at this stage. The gap is now 2.1 seconds, 2.2. In fact, it would appear Houdini's falling back into the clutches of... oh, they've got damage, they've got damage. How have they managed to get that? Can we see a replay of something? We can't, unfortunately. But they have damage, so that's pretty much sewn up this race. So Houdini Myers with that damage is definitely going to be under a lot of pressure from Sailor. The battle for first is pretty much over. Stig's pretty much won this race because of that. Sailor's looking, ducking and diving. Houdini defends for all his worth. Ooh, solid on the brakes. Sailor doesn't try to go around the outside of the chicane. Cars are coming across the line now. And it is going to be TRS Stig with a fantastic win here today at Nürburgring. Congratulations to them on their debut to the series. Houdini Myers somehow manages to hold on with the damage to second place. And Sailor will have to settle for third on their debut, which is by far... or by no means an easy feat, so congratulations to them. Spinner Copen, there we are, finishes 4th in the NCAR 99 ahead of Waddles, or Dynamic Carbon as he is now known, in 5th. Alpha Nut will come home in 6th. They do so now. Jim will come home in 7th. Gru 8th. Wybear won't come home at all because he's in the gravel trap of the last corner. No doubt that I can speak today. No doubt he'll be making his way across the line shortly, but it is Gentleman Racing who's a lap down, finishing 10th. John Wandering, who finished 11th. Wybear coming up to the checkered flag, and indeed crosses the line. It is TRS Stig who is our race winner here today at round 1 of Dynamic Racing League's DTM. Congratulations to them. Unbelievable scenes here today at Nürburgring. That has been an absolutely amazing race. It has been my pleasure to commentate it. I hope you've enjoyed this fantastic event that we've had here today. Of course, congratulations to not only race winner, but to all of those who have managed to set aside the time today to compete and made it to the end. Of course, fantastic stuff. This has been Off Apple from Dynamic Racing Leagues, not part of the Radio Show Limited Network, as we all know. Hope you've enjoyed the action here today. We will be seeing more action next week, same time, same place, if all goes well. Depending on whether a certain bug gets fixed with the Super Formula cars, we will be possibly seeing the next Super Formula race of round one, rather, of that series coming up next week on Fridays around the same time. So that's always to look forward to, but always depends on if that issue gets sorted or if something else gets agreed upon within the community. We'll have to see. So I hope you've all enjoyed everything here today, and as always, big up Jack Wilkinson on the cam, and I have been Off Apple of Dynamic Racing Leagues, signing out. See you next round, folks.